In this video, I will show you how to animate your own alerts and actively integrate them into OBS. The video builds directly on the previous one in which we designed and set up this stream overlay. If you haven't seen it yet, click on the eye in the upper right corner. We will create the framework of the alert in ProCreate, then animate it in After Effects and use the free Streamlabs tools to fade in the text. So let's start in ProCreate. Here it's important that we create different layers that we can animate individually later. To make sure the alert matches our overlay, I will use the overlay here as a reference, especially also to use fairly similar colors. First I create a rectangle, in which the text will be displayed later. The content of this rectangle will be changed later. The frame for the text field is formed by two metal bars, similar to the streetlight from the overlay. So I use a base color and then apply clipping masks with lighter and darker gradients to the layer to make it look three-dimensional. Create a bar and copy it for the bottom of the rectangle. But attention! Do not merge the two layers of the bars, because we want to animate them separately later. Now the text. I will also change its inner color later. To start with, I use the impact font here. Here I have the text layer that is on top and just shows the border. The bottom one is filled with color and has a clipping mask. This mask contains the appropriate gradient. Now I change the background of the rectangle. This should become brown, similar to our overlay, and get a woody texture. For the texture, I use the studio pen and draw each line by hand. The wood should now get a gradient to look more natural. Then I change the color of the text to an orange tone. The whole sign is based on the sign on the street lamp from the overlay. The frame of the text is colored dark brown, but this will change later. In the following, I move the text over the sign to make more space for the name to be displayed. As background for the text, I add snow. I create this with the same technique as the one in the overlay. On the left side I also add a small snow pile, in which the skis are put. Then I add the frame of the text. To adapt this to the snow, I use the same color for the frame as for the gradient of the snow and add a text shadow in the color of the snow texturing. Now I copy the skis from the overlay and add them to the top left of the alert. Again, make sure that each ski is in its own layer so that you can animate them separately. For the export, we now need to create the appropriate layers. This means that each ski is one layer. The bar at the bottom is one, the wood is one, and everything else on top of the wood, including the metal bar, is also one layer. Then export each layer individually. With that, we will move over to After Effects. Insert all layers into a 60 FPS composition. Arrange them accordingly so that the correct overall image is created. First, I want the top bar to rotate in from the bottom and appear as it rotates. Therefore, for the rotation and transparency of the top bar, I add two keyframes each, 20 frames apart. Change the transparency from 0 to 100 and the rotation from -90 to 0 degrees. Then adjust the speed graph as follows. Easy ease the keyframes first by pressing F9 and change the curve as shown here. Then I want the lower bar to unfold. For this I create 2 position keyframes. The bar should not appear until the upper one has folded. So I cut the lower bar off until then. So I create 1 keyframe for the position where the bar should be at the end and 1 for the point where it should appear, that is just below the upper bar. Again, the keyframes are 20 frames apart. I adjust the speed graph this way. To show the background, I mask the background and animate the mask path. So match your mask exactly to the background and let the mask grow larger step by step down. Here the time interval is equal to the unfolding of the lower bar. The speed graph is also identical. So that the skis don't stick out of the bottom when unfolding, I add a box that lies above the skis and change its blending mode to an alpha stencil. This way only the layers that are really in the area of the box will be displayed and everything else will be cut off. So that the skis and the box fold in with the upper bar, I link the layers with the layer of the upper bar. Then I add a wobble effect to the skis, so that they move realistically when they are turned in. Just experiment with the rotation keyframes. If you want to copy my keyframes, you can slow down or pause the video here. This completes the animation. Now pre-compose all layers and activate the title/action save guides. In order for the text to be displayed in the center of the wood, we need to move the wooden board to the center. So move the pre-composition accordingly. Then we need to adjust the frame rate. To create dynamic GIF right away, I will change the frame rate of both compositions to 50 frames per second. And with that, we can export our animation. To do this, add the composition to the Adobe Media Encoder and select PNG. After the export, it's time to create the GIF. For this I use GIMP, because here you can adjust the time intervals between the individual frames. So in the upper right corner, go to Files, Open as Layers, and select all the images you just created. Now importing these images may take a brief moment. However, once the import is complete, we can move on to the export. Select Export As and add the extension .gif. Then another window should open. Click on the animation hook and change the time interval to 20 milliseconds. Then select that only one layer should be displayed per frame. And you're done. Now you can export your GIF file. Now the basic structure is ready. To add the text, go to the Streamlabs website. If you haven't created an account after watching the last video, create one now for free. Then go to the alert box. Here we have to make several settings. First, select the center text for the layout. I would generally switch off parries in order not to interrupt alerts, and also leave the filter on. If we now go to the category follower, for which we are creating the alert, we can specify various details here. Important is the fade in and fade out effect, as well as the text. I only use the display of the name, but you can also add your own text here. For the text animation, I use the wiggle effect. Then add the GIF. Go to Image, click on the icon on the right and select Uploads. Upload the GIF here and select it. Also important is the alert duration, which should be 4 seconds, and the alert text delay, which should be 1 second. My font settings look like this. To display the alert in OBS, press Save and copy the link above. In OBS you have to create a new browser source and paste the link you just copied. Change the size of the browser source to 1920 by 1080 pixels and you're done. If I now run a test alert, the alert will appear like this. You can customize all of the just shown for any other alerts. Now you already have an overlay and suitable alerts. Next is a wintry transition. If you don't want to miss this and other videos about animations and graphics around Twitch and YouTube, feel free to subscribe to this channel. If the next video is already out, you can find it now here on the top right, and the previous video below on the right. I would be very happy about a like. Otherwise, until the next video, bye!